Our final award recipient of the NLADA Courageous Leadership for Racial Equity is none other than NFL player Malcolm Jenkins. Many of you all already know him for his amazing work on the football field. But on tonight, NLADA honors his work as a leader for racial equity. I had the pleasure of meeting Malcolm over 3 years ago in Philadelphia as he was working alongside then Chief Defender Keir Bradford Gray in advancing pretrial reform and racial equity. Malcolm is a constant voice for racial equity in America, and he has done amazing work through his foundation to support youth in avoiding carceral systems. So it is my pleasure on tonight to extend the NLADA Courageous Leadership for Racial Equity Award to Malcolm Jenkins. I just want to know, as an NFL player, what motivated you to exhibit the courage to become an advocate for racial justice?
For me, what motivated me was when I was able to see what kind of impact, I could have. As athletes, sometimes, we're in our own little bubble and you see things that are happening in the world that you want to have change, want to change, but you don't exactly know how. And so the first and most important step that I did that really took me off kind of on this journey was to see, okay, who's doing the work and how can I help? And the Keir Bradford Gray, who's the chief public defender in Philadelphia, was one of those key people who really, was able to sit me down, show me the ins and outs of what's happening. Here are some of the things that are close to changing that we need some help on. Here are the things that, this is how athletes can help us. And I think that was, to me, once I saw how I can fit into the equation, it really began to blossom, and you start to paint your own vision for how to actually go about change.
So I want to ask you, what do you hope to be your legacy as a NFL player and a racial justice advocate?
I hope that my legacy is one that sheds light on the collective, to be honest. Before I got into this, I really had no idea how much impact I could have as an individual. But when I really began to look at the landscape of things, you look at the grassroots organizations that do this work day in and day out, dedicate their entire lives to helping Black and brown people, that often their work goes unnoticed. Then you see the people who work within the system that are, fighting to correct, the laws and racial biases and things like that, that oftentimes don't get enough credit or attention. And then you have these influencers, these voices that can motivate people and galvanize people. But if they have no knowledge of those inner workings, then it really doesn't help either. And so my legacy, I hope, is one that shows the next generation a roadmap that a collective consciousness is one that is needed to change. Those people who do the grassroots work, the people who work within the system, and those influencers who have the voice to spread the message, all need to come together. And that's what the example that I've seen firsthand through my work in Philadelphia. When you have the chief public defender, when you have the district attorney, the chief of police, the influencers in the community, the leadership in the community, the grassroots organizations, all working in lockstep, all of a sudden the changes that seem so far out and so distant come to fruition. And I hope that, the focus of my legacy isn't on me, but more so the ability to convene the collective and actually have impact.
Wow, Malcolm, that is amazing. And I just want to affirm to you today that you are actively creating that legacy, and we say thank you. So as we wrap up, as you know, NLADA serves a community of civil legal aid attorneys, public defenders, and the client community, people who cannot afford access to counsel, and we serve as a national voice for that community. So before we allow you to sign off, is it any message that you would like to leave with that community as we launch this new NLADA racial equity campaign?
My message is that you guys are the heroes, right? I know I'm being honored, but I want to take a moment to honor you. It is your work that is your backs that I stand on, that other people who, have these platforms stand on. You are daily working with the people, oftentimes underthanked, underfunded. And I want to say thank you for that important work, because without you, a lot of the things that we see don't get done. The issues that are here and now, the people that need help here and now, don't get serviced if you guys don't do the work that you do. So I want to take the moment to say thank you. Please continue your work, stay motivated. You make a difference. It matters. And just keep up the fight.